activities, including societies, media, RAG, volunteering and events. The Activities Officer represents 200 plus student groups to the university, lobbying for their interests and making sure that they receive the recognition they deserve.
Hello, I'm Hannah Bragman here, joined by Rohan. Thank you, Green Room. And Rohan, so you're running for the role of Activities Officer. Tell me why you want to run for this role.
Well, there's quite a few reasons why I want to run for it, but the main one is I feel like I'll be very well suited to the role. It's something that I love being involved in student life throughout my time at uni. I've been a very active member of student life, I think, especially media, performance. I did USU BAME last year, so yeah, I wanted to stay involved with student life for one more year, and I think I'll be suited towards it. But also, I feel like USU can improve. USU can do better in certain areas, and student activities is one of them, and I'd love to contribute to that.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned in your manifesto about advertising for more student events and student activities. So how would you plan to advertise for these? Yeah,
so I feel like USU has a lot of potential on the marketing side of things, but I don't think it's that streamlined. I think more student groups can get involved in sort of using USU's systems. So the way I'd do it is I'd split the events section of the USU website, which already exists. I'd split it into different categories, subsections, so performance, media, sports, social, so that people can find the specific events or activities or student groups that they might want to get involved with much easier, instead of scrolling through all of the events and so on, because there's a lot. We've got 250 student groups, so there's a lot. And then that also makes it more streamlined on social media. So USU on social media accounts, whether that's Activities Officer or the main one, can say in a week, look, here's the media events going on, here's the performance events going on. And I think that just highlights student groups much more. And I think also it's quite a long process to submit events on the USU website and actually get that advertising in the first place. So I'd hopefully work with the team and look for ways to make that a bit easier, so more student groups are willing to use the tools.
And how would you make that a bit more easy? Do you have any ideas at the moment?
Well, I've been told that the system that the website that USU uses with the website is quite hard to change. So that's something I'd sort of lobby for, and look into ways, work with the IT team and look into the ways of doing. But I think that's probably a bit technical for me to do alone.
Of course. You also mentioned in your manifesto, you talk quite highly about using social media as your platform. So I was just wondering how you'd also get to the students who don't use social media. The university has over 22,000 students in it, and USU is only followed by 8,000 students, just over 8,000 students on Instagram. Obviously, the previous Activities Officer, Sophie Kelly's only got 742. So how are you going to reach the other people who don't have social media?
I'd remain very active on emails. All the SABs have emails, USU use emails, and I think I'd continue to use that, absolutely, and make it quite clear that is social media. I think I did mention in my manifesto social media and emails. So yeah, emails as well. And I also think there's the USU website is a very good tool to use. So same with sort of the events advertising. If the USU website is more accessible, then that makes it easier. And there's the Use Suggestions platform on the USU website as well. So if people don't want to sort of email with their suggestions, they can just fill in something very easy on the website. So I'd highlight that too.
Okay, sure. And inclusivity, that was another point in your manifesto, which is obviously very important. One thing you did mention is about extra financial support for some of the students. I was just wondering, where are you planning on getting this extra financial support from?
Well, I mean, USU has a lot of funds. And I think some gets left over every year in terms of supporting specific students. And obviously there's budgets allocated to student societies through UFund, UStart and so on. So I think some of that money can go to, and I think I used the example of non-drinking events, because not everyone likes clubbing. There's a case for making, accessible club nights, but I think there isn't a designated space on campus for clubs. D-Bar is great, but I think we can explore more options for social events, and obviously that could do with a bit of funding that comes out the normal budget. So it's just about reallocating things.
And talking about new spaces, the Student Centre you also mentioned. So tell me a bit about the Student Centre and what for you is the most important thing about this centre.
I think, firstly, the most important thing about the centre is for USU to pressure the university into letting students have their say about it, because the plans are already underway with sort of, to my knowledge, not much sort of input from the SABs. And the SABs obviously represent students and also the part-time officers. So the most important thing is making sure that the university listen, and then we can make sure that space represents all aspects of student life. So media, a clubbing space, accessibility, so it has, the facilities are accessible, everyone can use them, and a place to relax. So it should have something for everyone there. But I think the main challenge is making sure that because the university own the buildings, but I think USU and the students should advise on what that looks like.
And one other thing that really interested me about your manifesto was your suggestion for professional training for some of the societies. Can you tell me a little bit more about your reasoning behind this?
Well, I think at the moment the training is, there are various training documents, but only people who are at the top of committees get that, and so on. And I think some events were tried this year, but it didn't really get off the ground that much. So I think getting in touch with organizations and so on, and putting on events on campus, videos and so on. So it's not just all written down, but obviously have accessible documents as well that are easily available to student groups. So I think a variety of ways, so that it's professional expert advice, or even opportunities for students to travel somewhere and go to a workshop or something like that.
And finally, I'd like to touch on nightlife, as you did mention it too. What reporting tools were you referring to in your manifesto? And do you think that prevention is more important than the reporting tools? How would you try and prevent, situations from happening to increase student welfare on nights out?
I think prevention is the most important thing. And I think part of that is, I raised the point about transparency. And I think that's so important for students to know what support is available to them on nights out, if they don't feel safe and so on. And I think I made reference to the USU liaison. Now, there's a USU liaison at every club night. I didn't know that. I don't think a lot of students know that. But say something happens with a bouncer, which does happen, a student should be able to know that there's someone from USU present there who they can go to and have things dealt with or be looked after immediately. And I think that's so important. And also things like we're instigating in the bars on campus, the things in glasses and so on. So I think prevention is important. And reporting tools as well. There's various reporting tools, but often it goes straight to the university. And I think there needs to be something clear on the USU website for people to go to and talk to USU immediately, instead of having to go straight to the university. I think USU should look after students to a larger extent with nightlife.
Of course. Thank you so much for joining me, and we're going to go back to the green room.